up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Host Tanzan, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 10.4, The Morgue, Polka, where we are covering the novel Death Masks. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello.
And Jess.
Hi. Happy New Year, everybody. In a couple days, but, you know, party hard.
It's the end of the year as we know it.
Do irresponsible things.
I wish I felt fine.
You and Harry both.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 5. Dresden meets Murphy at the morgue and is introduced to Waldo Butters, the attending assistant medical examiner. They examine a body that has died under unusual circumstances, coming down with every plague and disease in a matter of hours, additionally being tortured before death, and then having identifiable features such as the head and the hands removed. Harry makes his way to his car and is attacked by an angry bear-like monster.
I like his little, what's the word I'm looking for? His little soliloquy on the morgue. I don't know what his little rundown or whatever, right?
Why morgues are underground?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Because I'm like, most of us don't think about it that much, right? But he's like, they don't make morgues with windows. And he's like, and whenever the geography allows for it, they're like underground. And he's like, yeah, sure, maybe that's because it's a whole lot easier to like freeze or like keep a bunch of coffin-sized ice boxes cool, you know, but
the dead things belong there.
I know, and you're like,
And
wow.
so do I.
Thank you for making me, for making me think this intensely about like morgues and why they're there. And then I love how he throws that in. He's like, of course I live in like an underground basement and I love it. So what does that say about me? You know? Like,
Feel you, Harry.
oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Although I have to admit, my basement suite was one of the places I've enjoyed most in a long time living with. Just so I'm like, maybe there is something to it.
I've lived the majority of my life in basements or basement suites. Gotta say, that's my preference.
And this podcast is recorded in a basement.
It sure is.
So let's hear it for the basement dwellers. That above ground thing is just so much more intrusive.
People who like sunlight? Couldn't be us.
God. And ruin my pasty pallor.
It's Victorian chic, okay?
I have one friend in university who used to call me the alabaster goddess. Huh. I'm not sure how to take that.
I'm sure it was
Especially because that was Arizona. It was probably mean.
Maybe it was just awe because he wasn't used to anybody being. It's like I live in Arizona, nobody comes in that color.
Well, even like the funny thing is that here in Alberta, everyone is very pasty, white, pale. They don't get enough sunlight, even though we're one of the sunniest cities in Canada. But even though we're one of the sunniest provinces in Canada. However, all of my siblings who live the next province over are all like 4 shades darker than me because they're tanned all summer long, and I'm always like, yeah, we're definitely related, guys. So the nice thing about Cook County Morgue is that it's real, and they do operate 24/7.
Ooh.
That's lovely. If you ever die in Chicago, there's no waiting. We can see you right away.
You stab him, we slap him.
Immediately. Other than holidays.
I don't know, you said 24 hours.
It's 24/7, but they close on holidays.
Oh, well.
So there's no like, why the fuck are you guys at morgue in the middle of the night?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's true. Well,
They really are operational.
That's true. I guess that's fair enough. I was gonna say most shows it seems like he's going to go, but I was like, she's the cops, like of course. But I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess no for the middle of the night. Which I don't know, because
It might not even be middle of the night. Harry might have gone to bed at like 4 p.m. because he's had a rough day.
I was just gonna say, I was like, we don't really. Other than he does kind of make some allusions to.
I just say that,
But yeah, I was
when he
gonna say-
leaves the morgue, it is dark.
Yeah, but like when because yeah, like the Larry Fowler show is usually, I mean, again, from what I've heard from seen from these things, is that they usually tape like
9, 10,
in the
11 a.m.?
morning. Yeah, exactly, right? And then like, so yeah, he
Waste an
go-
hour with a priest. Waste an hour getting home, talking to Susan, taking a shower, trying to fall asleep. You know.
Yeah, it was like 2 in the afternoon when he like,
Okay,
you know what I
it's
mean?
another
Like,
30 minutes to get to Murphy. All right, you're at 2:30. I spent 12 hours in the morgue.
well, no, it is February, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
for
by
sure
5 p.m.
about,
it could be dark.
I was gonna say here by like winter now, like by 4:30, it's getting dark. Like when I leave work at 5 o'clock, I'm driving home in the dark, and I'm like pretty much
the tundra.
driving to work in the dark. So it's like, yeah. So I'm assuming Chicago gets darker earlier in the winter too.
Middle of February, February 15th, 2023, Chicago is predicted to get dark, sunset at 5:23 p.m.
See, there you go.
Okay? I've just told your future, guys.
Predicted. We don't know for certain, but it's predicting that this.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just...
Like,
I'm
those
so
things are
sorry.
pretty.
Okay. You're right. I'm an idiot. February 15th, 2005. It was at 5:24 p.m., 1 minute later.
So anyways, but yes, exactly. I just like, obviously it must be later at night, but part of me is just like, you haven't really done all that much. It doesn't seem like it should be this late at night.
Pablo Ortega
yet.
was like, I will do your show, but only at 4 o'clock at night.
Well, you know what, though? That's a fair point, though, because he does make a big deal about how they can't go out in the daylight, so who
yeah,
knows?
maybe-
Maybe
Why
this
is this
was
guy
a
walking
special...
with a black trash bag over his head?
Showed up with 37 umbrellas around him.
Maybe this is
So
one
maybe,
of those,
yeah, it was
like, we film
late
like
taping.
6 episodes a day, so...
Yeah, late taping.
We start, yeah, it was just the late taping of it. Actually, I can kind of go for that.
I can understand that. Paulo Ortega was like, I will debunk all your fantasy, but only if I can show up at night. I'll debunk all your supernatural.
It'll be much
however.
better for me to pretend to be a vampire.
Mwahaha. I know he's from Peru, but all vampires get a Dracula accent.
Of course, obviously.
They all start speaking like they're Romanian when you get the bite.
You're like a true
Commit.
right.
If you're gonna do it, commit.
Exactly. But then again, when they got attacked by the mob guys in the parkade, I'm pretty sure it was daylight because they could see them. So now we're right back to, couldn't have been that late at taping. Time in Harry's world is just messed up.
Why isn't it a very lit?
Okay, because one, underground parking lots are never very lit.
The mafia installed their own
And if
lights
it-
so that they could get Harry, and then they still failed.
Weird. There's like this great lighting path to where I park, and the rest of the parkade is in like
I could
I'm
fully
like, when
see.
did I get like running lights to my car?
I can fully see like people like around Chicago are just leaving like X marks the spots to like assassinate Harry, and you keep wandering up to him and being like, "What is this?" There's like an anvil falling.
It's like, why is there an anvil falling? But no, but in order for him to like see them all,
It is a truth universally known that if there is a wizard and an assassination, the wizard will stand on the X marks the spot.
Of course. So yeah, who knows if they are during regular business hours or after business hours? I don't know. If they
It's
need
like when
be
you go
there
into a
in the
movie
middle of the
theater and you
dark,
think
but-
you're gonna come out in all darkness, like you can only see a movie at nighttime, and then you come out of the matinee
you're
and you're like,
blinded.
right.
The only other thing that this could possibly mean, if it was filmed in the daytime, is that Paulo Ortega arrived the night before on a coffin and was sitting in the basement all day waiting for this to start.
He's a rich South American vampire lord
Duke.
here. He has like the illegally tinted windows in his limo, okay?
And
They
pulled
just
up
drove
right to the
right
door.
up to the stage door. And like, he's like, I will come, but in my
It's got a loading van and it just bats into
It's like, you know, you hear about all those like celebrity riders where it's like Madonna or somebody has to have like a brand new toilet seat in her dressing room, like she won't, you know what I mean? He's like, mine is like, you know, you have to have
I need
like,
a tent from the door to my car.
I need like one of those like airplane like build a tunnel thingies like from the you know. Anyways. So he gets there.
Imagine we had this conversation 3 episodes ago.
Yeah. So Harry's like, I live in a basement apartment and like it. What does that say about me? Probably that I overanalyze things. Thankfully, not something we ever do on this podcast.
Never.
We'll leave that to Harry.
We're 10 minutes in and haven't started this chapter yet.
Hey, we mentioned the morgue. It's a big part of this chapter. So Murphy thinks he looks all pensive-y and thinky and stuff.
Murphy and Harry.
Wait. Sitting in a tree.
Almost.
I want to quote something really quick.
Quote it. Do it. Say it.
I love it.
Read it.
Murphy didn't look like a monster hunting Valkyrie. That said, Murphy was a monster hunting Valkyrie. She was the only person I ever heard of who had killed one with a chainsaw.
She's real cool.
She's super cool.
But this whole scene, too, and again, like, we're building it and building it and building it. You lay the foundation of their friendship and who they are to each other, and we've seen the growth and we've seen the change, but, like, the comfortable casualty camaraderie displayed right here is, again, it's just like, I'm glad we're really committed in the friendship now, right? Like,
Yeah, you don't have to keep worrying about
yeah, like,
the
they're
ticking time bomb.
really strongly just friends now, and it's like, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Feels good.
It does. Where they can basically just go back to, like, you kind of look like crap and be like, thanks.
Thanks, stupid bitch. What the fuck?
Right? So do you. I know.
Well, no, actually, Murphy looks really put together
Actually,
right
in
now.
this
She looks
particular
great.
instance.
Better than she did before. Picked up
Wearing
some
her
pieces.
Sunday best.
Okay, yeah, because he said the brass is falling her. So yeah, basically she's got more of like a business type suit on instead of slightly more casual or like, I mean, she always dresses professionally, but she's got like this pretty like silky blouse on and stuff under her suit instead of, and you know, makeup on, which she almost wore more makeup than she usually, and you know, a bit of jewelry and all that kind of stuff, which is, yes, very much. But it's interesting too because they're going in, because she's like, you look pensive and everything, and he's just like, nah, I just don't like hospitals or whatever. And she's like, she nodded and she's like, morgues spook me. Morgues and dogs. And he's like, dogs? And she's like, well, not like little, like, you know, like beagles and cocker spaniels are fine, but she's like, you know, big dogs. And he's like, I like dogs. They give mistress something to snack on. You know, and it's just one of those cute little. Later
It makes
on,
it sadder for full moon, right? How extra terrified Murphy was for all of that, right?
Right.
You've got dogs or werewolves, like one of her biggest fears ever. Big dogs.
and now you've got giant human-sized dogs chasing
Right.
you around.
And then you've got, like, the whole, like, Kemmler thing that happened right after that. Like, that was a bad year for Murph. Like,
Great.
I get why she was being a bit of a bitch that whole time. Like,
Yeah,
my
right.
biggest fear is big, scary dogs. And then they got big, scary dogs with human intelligence. I don't like that at all.
No, and then again, right, that she literally was facing it down with Dresden when, well, I guess actually that's not true. She put her back to it because he was killing the werewolf and she was killing Denton.
The FBI.
But maybe that's where, you know, that she turned her back on the big giant scary, or didn't know it was that. But anyways, yes. So yeah, how about that? More spook Murphy. But she is also a big, scary, giant monster hunting Valkyrie. So, just goes to show we all got something. But yeah,
So-
but she's like, I've seen you spook though. She's like, and it doesn't look like that. She's like, you look worried and frustrated and guilty. You know, romance things. So, yay for Murphy, just right out the bat. She's like, looks at him for 2 seconds and be like, oh, you got girl issues.
I've been married and divorced twice. I got this.
Right, I guess. I'm like, see, I'm still not very good. I'm like, I would not pick up on those clues that fast. Thank God for, like, fictional characters.
That's why
that
you're
just
not a cop.
Automatic. Yeah, that
They
too.
keep the story moving because they know everything.
Right.
So yeah, Harry gives her the rundown. She's obviously very much like, that's sad. And he's like, well, it might not be sad. And she's like, no, it's definitely sad.
One of those. You don't set up a guy for a good talk.
Yeah,
You
right.
don't.
Oh. Thanks, Murph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Scowled down at my feet. No one said anything. Like, ooh, tough break there, buddy. Which, like, to be fair, you already proposed. She already said no. How much worse can it really get? Like, she's gonna break up with you again? Like,
yeah.
sorry, like, come on.
So
Like,
I just here to remind you, we're still not together.
I know we made out, but that was
just
Some mixed messages, but really, this is where it goes.
Forget about it.
I just want to be friends. Doesn't mean we can't make out occasionally.
Murphy and Dresden enter the morgue. Polka music, heavy on accordion and clarinet, oompad cheerfully through the room from a little stereo on the desk.
Polka!
Love it.
One of the all-time most favorite people, 5 books too late.
Right?
5 books too late?
Yeah, you should have showed up sooner. Love that guy.
I do love this guy, but...
I mean, wears green bunny slippers. What's not to love?
I know, and he listens to Weird Al.
Well, Butters recognizes Dresden despite never being introduced to him before.
Yeah. And good on, because I'm pretty sure we had this too, where, like, we were talking about with, like, Jenny Greenteeth and stuff like that, and she's like, oh, only by reputation, you're tall, and we're all like, what the fuck, this is the one thing everybody knows about Dresden, and apparently Butters actually pays attention. Obviously, Murphy has talked about him before, because he obviously has a relationship with Murphy, which, not a big surprise, considering he's, like, medical examiner and she's a cop, you know, but exactly, like, you know, that he's like heard things about Harry Dresden, and Murphy walks in with this big giant guy in a leather duster, and like presumably maybe we're assuming the middle of the night, and he's like, oh, you must be Harry Dresden, that wizard guy that's really tall that people talk about, you know. Yeah. It's like, but yeah, so unless she mentioned that she was coming by with him or whatever, but it's one of the few people, because he calls her Karen, which not very many people do. It's either like officer or it's like all Dresden, which is just Murphy.
Lieutenant?
Lieutenant, yeah. Well,
not officer.
Her officer title. But yeah. So again, one of those nice, easy peasy, quick ways to say, hey, these guys know each other more than just like whatever, right? I'm like, he gets to call her Karen. So either he's mopped up her blood or... So, yeah, so he's like, yeah. So this is when we find out why she's looking so nice, is because there's municipal brass tromping around, and again, you get that little kick of that Butters has, like, humor in that, right? She's like, oh, yeah, all the big wigs are supposed to, like, put on our Sunday best and smile a lot. And he's like, bastards. Because, you know, Murphy is just like, don't make me put on my Sunday clothes and smile a lot. Like, you know.
I don't wanna.
Yeah, he's like, those evil fuckers making you. And yeah, he's like, automatically, he's like, oh, you must be Harry. He's like, great coat. He's like, all right, thanks. Like,
it's a little bit more like, reaffirming that Butters has always been there in the background, right? Because he's like, oh yeah, every time you work with SI, my job gets a little more interesting. So it's like,
right.
Butters has in the background been there this whole step of the time, right? So
yeah, we just haven't.
Butters is Murphy's go-to medical examiner, so to speak.
Obviously,
for reasons that will become apparent very soon.
Right. Well, exactly.
They decide to examine the body, and Butters is like, don't throw up on the floor.
Yeah.
Advice.
I know. He's like, put on your masks and, like, do not mess up my floor.
Or did you just have some strange insight that Dresden really likes to threaten to vomit every time he sees a body?
No, I'm going to guess that this is... Well, he probably, again, doesn't know exactly what Dresden's experience, but yeah, I'm going to say this is just typically like...
Psychic insight.
Yeah,
everyone who walks in here wants to vomit.
Like, yeah, he's like, you know this is going to be a bad one. Like, because again, he's got to assume that Murph is well familiar with, you know, having seen corpses in the course of her work and everything like that, but it's like, you just know already, like, oh, this is going to be a bad one. When they're like, put on the masks and, like, try not to vomit, you're like, oh, this isn't just some... you know, random, fresh, died in their sleep kind of.
So, presented with a body that we've kind of already seen similar things to in the pictures earlier, right? You've got a body that's been shredded, ribbonized, 2-inch marks everywhere, everything.
Oh, weren't they like 1/4 inch? I think you're being awfully generous. The cuts were spaced maybe 1/16 of an inch apart. His arm was hacked off 1 or 2 inches above the wrist. That's very finely, neatly done.
75 years old. It happens.
I think this body is 75 years old. He's been cut up into 2-inch pieces.
2-inch.
cubes.
Cubes, yeah. Cheese platter, anyone?
So outside of the normal ribbiting that we've seen before, yes, he's also missing a head and his hands, which makes it hard to identify because you can't get any hair or dental records or fingerprints
Or, just
facial recognition.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's Bob.
So that is, gruesome.
Yeah,
and horrible.
Right there, kind of your headless.
Who has the hands or
body.
the head? Where are they?
Right.
Who's gonna find those?
Keep them as trophies. They chuck them in the East River, which I know is not in Chicago. Or, exactly.
They made the trek to get rid of the head.
They did.
They
chuck
were
them
willing
in
to do
East
the
River.
trek. They were willing to put into all this other work, but they're like, we're not gonna go to another lake. There's a perfectly good lake right here.
Okay, so they're at the bottom of Lake Michigan. But
Yeah, Butters points out that the man didn't actually bleed out as the reason of death. He continues to state that he thinks the guy died of multiple plagues and diseases.
Well, he's still squishy, right? So if you start pressing down on this body, more blood's gonna spurt out, right? And that wouldn't happen if you bled to death, right? A lot of places for the blood to come out. Nice thing about a dead body, if they're already dead, the blood doesn't keep pumping, right? Because you need the heart to do that. So the blood will just stay in the body. It won't necessarily keep draining, right? So he's still squishy, so he's still bloody. So definitely died
I don't
for blood.
think that's the scientific explanation.
It is.
I'm pretty sure it's the lividity because all the blood has now settled on the, gravity is taken over.
In the back.
Yeah. Well, he's
So his
presumably
butt
laying
is
on
squishy?
his back.
Maybe. I never think of him as having legs. I was thinking of him hacked off at the waist as well. Because we just talk about, no hands, no head. We don't really talk about the feet or anything.
It's like his chest is sliced up, he's missing his hands and heads, there is nothing else to this body.
Nothing else
That's all
there.
that is relevant. But yes, it's, yes, he says, yes, there is blood still in the body and it is all settled into the lividity and that. So yes, it did not just all pump out.
And essentially pestilence, plague,
I
bullshit.
don't know that it's squishy, but Harry does make the comment because of the way, and how deep it's sliced up and stuff like that. Maybe that's it. Maybe some of the cuts are a couple inches deep or whatever. But he's like, I feel like if I ran my hands across it, it would just... And same thing, if you've ever sliced up a bunch of I don't know, cheese cubes or a melon or something, right? You hack, and then you just whoop, and it just patter all the little food cubes that you sliced up, right? And that's basically what he says you can do to this body, and
Imagine you're Hannibal. You've got a big dinner party coming up. Happy New Year's, everybody.
Ew. Very ew. And yet at the same time, I'm like, I can totally envision what he's talking about. I'm like, I know exactly what that.
I know exactly what that feels like. From all the other children I've killed.
No, just pineapples. I don't know.
You okay? Tanzan's having
Y'all
problems
are
over there.
Hey, what's wrong with pineapples? Those are very happy.
They eat you.
Well,
Pineapples
them
eat
first.
you as you eat them.
they kind of
Well,
do.
yeah.
I was going to say I love pineapple,
worth it,
but it
though.
does not always exactly.
They digest you.
Just some enzymes start to
Break
break you down.
Right? And I can tell every second that that's happening.
Well, eat faster.
When fruit bites back.
Right.
Attack of the killer tomatoes.
Maybe that's what Lee was trying to say when she was, get out of here, you fruits. Maybe she just meant scary pineapples or something.
And maybe
It was really a much more effective threat than we gave it credit for at the time.
second only to Mab, but fruit is trying to kill me. Okay, moving on. Butters proceeds to tell him that he got killed by basically every disease that's ever existed ever all at once, which is obviously pretty fucking dark.
Yeah.
You gotta assume there's some magical interference there somehow.
Well,
Because where else are you keeping every disease in the world on your pocketbook? Like,
right. Well, and even Harry is just he sees this slice up chest, and then he makes note that the hands and stuff are missing and the head, and he's sitting there and he's like, gee, I wonder what killed him. Butter's just like, what didn't? He's like, actually,
Everything.
the headless part did not kill him. The missing arms did not. Because the hands, the sliced up, right? It was just Harry's like, gee, I wonder what, what I mean? And he's
you're
like,
wrong.
not what you would think. Not as obvious as personally, And he's like, wait, disease? Plural?
So this dude is like we're talking fucking everything. We're black mold, okay?
That's everything.
No,
Black
that's
plague,
not the
you
word.
mean?
Black plague.
Like, this guy died of everything.
Shit that we don't even have in the world
Yeah,
anymore.
like black
Extinct
mold.
things, yeah.
But yeah,
Extinct things,
smallpox,
so it's
black
been
plague.
literally everything.
Yeah.
And depending on, like, obviously it doesn't come up in the text, but you could have potentially killed him with things that we don't even know existed anymore because it happened before we had time to,
right.
you
Things
know,
from
record
eons
that, you
past
know?
or
Like,
whatever.
that
Yeah.
plague is
Right.
so extinct that we don't even know what happened, right? Like,
And just to get them all at the same time.
Well-
About 48 hours ago, specifically.
yeah.
Yeah, if he has to pin him down and give him an answer. But yeah, because Murphy's like, well, this is all like smallpox is extinct and everything, right? And he's like, yeah, they probably have something like a
Weapons,
bioweapons
library,
like
whatever.
research lab or whatever, but beyond that, like, exactly, right? So as you say, right, like, where would you get access to all of these things and not infect yourself? And even just the fact that, again, like, that it doesn't spread to, like, because Harry, basically says, he's like, is it even safe for us to be here? And he's like, relax, like, the nasty ones aren't, like, airborne or whatever, right? So, but, like, even still, like you say, imagine you've
The
infected
unnasty ones.
well, you've infected somebody that badly. Like, it is a miracle he didn't come into contact with anybody else, or you know what I mean? Like, bleeding
Luckily,
out on
this book happens roughly 2005, okay? So, like, he didn't get infected with COVID-19. That hadn't been a thing yet. But, like, SARS could be there. Like, that's still airborne. Like,
Yeah, right. Like, so whatever. They were kind enough to either keep him isolated enough while they killed him by plague, or again, just whatever. How some of this other stuff
who first
spread.
who first saw the body, right? It's not like anyone knew that he was infected until they got him to Butters. Basically, everyone was like, okay, decapitation
susceptible, right?
or torture or whatever probably got
Yeah.
this guy. I'm just saying, with that many different plagues and stuff, there's no way you got from the crime scene to the morgue without some people getting sick.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, and again,
good
maybe
point.
just not the complete. Oh, I mean, like, even Harry says, like, because he's like, it's not airborne. He disinfected the corpse. Wear your mask and don't touch it. And he's like, what about the smallpox? And he's like, you're vaccinated. So yes,
I was gonna say,
that
the
is
majority
part
of
it.
people probably, like, are vaccinated at this point in their lives,
I was-
or could go to the hospital and easily get cured.
Yeah,
you know?
so I was gonna say, yeah, some of them, like, not
yes.
necessarily is instantly dead, which is, why they are eradicated is because we, vaccinated again. So I guess there is that. Like, yes, they could potentially have come in contact with something, but unless apparently you have them all attacking you at once, it's
I'm
not
not
gonna
saying
be
this book
instantly
doesn't make
deadly.
sense because Chicago didn't all just immediately die from
Right.
poisoning or whatever you call a plaguening.
Oh, break.
Outbreak, sure, yeah. That's. I don't know any of the technical terms because I've never lived through a plague before,
Yeah,
so
I
I don't
know.
know what you really use
Oh,
to
just
call.
you wait. History repeats
I'm
itself,
sure,
Jessica. I'm sure
yeah.
at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll experience that at least once in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Butters continues and says that those cuts were actually made prior to the man's death and likely in order to torture him. So not only does he get all these wonderful illnesses, but like the torture that goes on, like this poor man, like, no,
Yeah.
that's a horrible way to go.
That's just
And, like, overkill.
literally.
Extremely. Like, who deserves this much? Overkill, like...
Right?
Like fucking Dresden is, like, only worth, like, a pizza delivery guy with a bomb. Like, but this guy... So, yeah.
Ripped to shreds.
So they go through and they check out some... Harry's looking at the body and trying to see if he can do any mojo, see anything, right? And he discovers this little tattoo on it, right? And Butters takes his Polaroid picture, hands it off to Murphy, and Murphy starts shaking it. Not supposed to do that, Murphy.
Shake it like a
That's wrong.
Doesn't actually help it develop.
Yeah,
You'll
it's,
ruin the photo that
but
way.
it's what everybody did.
Everybody's
Yeah.
wrong.
Usually.
They're all wrong.
But yes.
Yeah.
Picture.
Nice little pop culture reference.
Nice little pop-
You guys stay here and molder it out.
So yeah, so it's also an interesting, like Harry raises an interesting point here because he's like, okay, so they put him through all this, they torture him, they infect him, he's like, and then they cut off his head and hands, presumably to make it difficult to identify because that's the only reason people can really think of for why you would do that. And he's like, but why? Why make somebody die? Like, usually if you infect somebody, it's so that it looks like a natural death. And oh my gosh, somehow he contracted smallpox and died. Weird, but okay. So it's like, why would you give a potential plausible cause of death and then just reverse all that by hacking them up and torturing them and cutting off their head and everything like that, right? So it seems very contradictory there. It's like you could have done sort of like a cover-up, but then you blew the cover-up by making it obvious.
Well, it's almost as though like multiple people had their own version of killing him, and they all did their own ideas. It's like, why did everyone... One would have been enough, not every single person doing their own thing to one body, like...
Right? Yeah, it is. It's very
serial killer.
Yeah, it's just all kinds of...
No real rhyme and reason, really. Like, just...
Yeah.
Because you can.
Just for the sake of the killing.
Exactly. So, yeah. So he's like, yeah, I'll let you guys all sort of figure it out. And then, yes, we get the CBS logo, which I kind of like because, again, it is a very recognizable, you know, I go, oh, yeah, I remember. And again, I have to wonder if this is like a little Buffy reference. I sadly failed to do my Toth research beforehand, but the Eye of Toth does come up in Buffy at some point, too. So.
Well, and then we'll get to that when Dresden's in his lab. They cover some more then.
So, but he finds
We don't actually know that it's the Eye of Toth yet.
We don't know it's the Eyes of Toth yet, but yes. But yeah, uncovers a
little tattoo. Harry goes, winky, winky face, Butters, get the fuck out. And then Murphy's like, what do you know? And he's like, I'm not allowed to tell you. And she's like, okay, I trust you. And he's like, but if I could tell you, I would tell you this. And she's like, okay, don't tell me, but I'm just going to happen to also Google this. And he's like, well, you should also Google that.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It
nice
is
little
cute.
back and forth. And it is nice to also...
hypothetical moments. Well, hypothetically.
And it is nice to see that, both of them are a little bit more willing to be like, okay. Fuck the police. Fuck the wizards.
Well, it is, but it's kind of funny in this, right? Because, like, the whole tension in the first books was because he was like, I can't tell you what's going on. And she's like, dude, you have to tell me. And now he's like, I kind of said I wouldn't. Like, I'm not supposed to tell you what's going on. So she's at the place now where she's like, okay, I trust you. If it becomes something I should, tell me. And he's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you anyways. It's like, well, you could have done that in the first book to save yourself a lot of trouble.
No, because part of Harry's thing is that it makes Murphy's life more dangerous to know these things, right? And in the first book, he was still very much like, there's no reason to drag you into this. You're not a part of it yet. At this point,
you can't handle the truth.
When she has actively killed the bad guys now, they know about her. It's like, you're safer now to know, right?
I guess is maybe.
But there was still loads of time in the first book, and even in the second book when he was holding back for her to get out of it, right? Now, she's pretty entrenched.
Yeah.
Okay, Great Peril, Summer Night, Murphy's entrenched in this shit. Okay?
It is. It's just kind of funny that, like, she's like, I'm willing to give it up, and
he's like, whoa,
not push
whoa,
the
whoa,
point.
whoa.
He's like, well, you know what? Now there's no reason. I can just tell you anyways. But yes, they do their whole little tongue-in-cheek. I can't tell you, but if you were to stumble into this at such and such a time, and
further that point is that Harry already knows the cops are involved in this. He already knows Interpol is involved with this. He already knows the FBI is involved with this. It's not like this is fully supernatural. Like, it's like, you might as well tell Murph, get the jump on it, because your guys are already working on this.
Yeah.
It's just you don't know.
I was going to say, you will get to this eventually.
So he's just saving her some time. He's like, just instantly go to this. Instantly. Because, like, your people are already on it.
Yeah, they're going to, so might as well just,
It's not like the few instances where it's like, this is fully supernatural. You do not need to. You are involved in the supernatural, and this is involved in the cops.
Yeah.
So you might as well. Let's just get to this.
Already you're on both sides.
Let's just catch up.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, right before this, I like that we get a little history on Butters and find out just how, like, committed he is to solving things and making, like, the truth, like, to the point that
why is Butters so awesome?
He gets sent to a mental hospital for reporting that the Velvet Room shit was not human.
Human-like, but definitely not human.
Yeah.
So yeah, because Harry's like bunny slippers and polka music, and she's like, hey, don't knock it, he's good at his job. Like, maybe too good. Right? So, yeah. And exactly, it was like, because like, well, they weren't. They were like red vampires. And she's like, yeah, but you can't just put that in your report, And Butters, again, didn't know exactly what it was. He wasn't like, oh, these are red vampires. He was just like,
humanoid, not human.
But not human. And they're like, dude, you can't. But Butters, like, he's like, no, but it's not. They're like, you must be mistaken. He's like, no, this is fucked up. This is not a normal, to the point where they're like,
to the psych ward,
we're going to have you committed
hospital,
and evaluated and stuff like that.
Tried to fire him.
Tried to fire him.
Couldn't, demoted him.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Poor guy lost all his seniority and has to work, like, the night shift and everything now. But exactly, he's like, I don't get. He's like, but it's not. Don't you people want to, like, figure... And they're like, no. Nope. It's just, no, you must be mistaken. There's no way that's not...
So Butters is a little bit too honest for his own good.
Yeah.
And kind of ruined
To
his
a fault,
career, yeah.
But doesn't know about, doesn't know the supernatural, so he doesn't know what the cover-up is about, doesn't know what is being, he's just like, I don't understand. This is...
Well, to your point, when he says moldering,
Yeah.
maybe you're moldering, right? It's very much, the difference between, like, what's really going on, Butters, and what you think is all just a joke. It's like, yeah, he calls himself a wizard, but maybe you're not a believer yet.
Yeah, right.
Right, but-
Psychic consultant, right? He knows that Murphy brings him in. Maybe he doesn't know sort of the wizard side. Maybe,
And you can fully be like, sure, like, I trust Murphy, so if Murphy says this guy is good, I'm on Team Dresden, right? Like, Butters is very much ready to be friends with Dresden.
I was gonna say, yeah, you get a few of that, like, just the eccentric, quirky guy will humor
Accepts him
him,
right
but
away.
he gets results, so, you
right?
know.
Either way, right?
Yeah.
But that's the difference between, seeing this whole back and forth between whether or not, you're really initiated into the supernatural thing or not, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit unfortunate that obviously Butters got caught up in it before knowing, because, yeah, Murph is kind of known from the troll from before she was lieutenant that we know about it, but we don't put it on paper, right? And that's how she's kept protected and kept her job for so long,
Yeah,
right?
and Butters obviously hasn't been really smacked in the face with it until sort of now.
Now, so it's just...
Right, so it's
The
like,
people who were in the know also knew to shut up.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, Butters wasn't in the know. He didn't know to shut up.
yeah, it wasn't like his, supervisor M.E. when he was just a brand new little baby. M.E. was like, by the way, sometimes you're gonna get some weird shit, and this is my, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
It was just like, la la la, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. I'm a professional. I've been doing this for years.
I'm a
What the
science man,
fuck?
a man
I'm
of science.
right? What the fuck is this? Oh no, you're crazy. We're just gonna lock you up for a while. Like, what? But yeah.
But that does, obviously a way of point in his favor for people like Susan and Murphy and Dresden who are seeing the bigger picture here. And so now it's a little bit like, well, welcome to the team, Butters. Sorry
Yeah.
it sucks so much getting into it, but welcome to the team.
But now that you're here, yeah, exactly.
And it is also the unfortunate side effect of having to see, obviously Michael and his whole family are aware that exists. They've got a very easier way into it, right? Even Susan herself, she obviously got pretty bad consequences from her first big dive into it, but she was obviously a believer well before and it didn't affect her job. It was actually an asset.
She was like trying to go look
Murphy,
for that proof.
Butters is the first real casualty of it we've
Yeah.
seen so far, right?
Yeah,
So-
he did not go looking to find it. He did not sign up for it. Yeah,
Even the
exactly.
alphas, right? They really got him on the up and up out of that one, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Butters is the first drill.
Yeah.
Sucks, bro. Welcome to the team.
Right.
So yeah, so they're gonna see if they can find anything out about the tattoo. And she's like, you figure we're dealing with like a sorcerer. He's like, maybe, but like disease and magic. He's like, again, that doesn't, usually it doesn't look like they're murdered or whatever. He's like, maybe some like demon or something. And she's like a real demon, like an exorcist demon. And he's like, those are the fallen, which are the former angels.
Right, then we get our first introduction to the lore of the Fallen right here.
Of the fallen, yeah. So he's like, there's other, like the toad demon and stuff like that we've met before.
Yeah.
He's like, there's different ones like that. They're just sort of part of the other reality that can come in.
And
But
they're thugs.
exorcists.
They're intelligent beings from the Never Never that are thugs.
Yeah, basically, right. So they're just lower down. He's like, but the fallen is a whole other. Those are the actual angels created by God with a capital G that followed Lucifer and went down a bad path and did all that kind of stuff and chose to break away and do their own thing. And yeah, again, like a much higher level of power in that than your average,
Right.
fairy thug or whatever.
Well, no, at this
But-
point, it just really only says that they're interested in the mortal world, but they're not free to act, and they're not really sure why they can't. But and basically, it wouldn't be a fallen in this instance because that he doesn't think it would be because they don't have the permission to do so.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? He's like, they're a big scary, but again, it's like they can't do anything without sort of being given permission because, again, humans and free will and stuff like that. So yeah, so they've got all this to figure out. So she's got, like you say, she's like, okay, this is going to take a while to figure out because you've got all these people tromping around City Hall or whatever, doing their thing and whatever they're doing in the cop world, political world kind of a thing. So she's like, we're going to have to she's like, we already have to bend over backwards because we all know what it's like when you have the big boss coming to visit and everybody's got to pretend that the office is always this clean and always this organized. And, meanwhile, she's got these corpses popping up all over the place. And, still trying to, no real grasp of what's going on. Dresden's got a thing going on, so he's like, I can kind of give you hints on this, and our ship might all be related, but who knows yet? And, off they go kind of thing. They figure out, she's like, I'm gonna look into this, you can look into that, we'll meet up later and compare notes or whatever, right? So off he goes, and as we've mentioned before, when Charity was in the hospital and all that, right? Dresden basically tries to avoid any of the real serious parts because he doesn't want to zap out life support machines and all this kind of stuff, right? So he's going to exit the morgue and finds out that there's some patient being brought in that's all hooked up to whatever. So he's like, rather than, risk following them out and doing that or whatever, he just ducks out the first exit he sees into the alley behind the hospital or whatever, right? And again,
polite.
Just polite. Well, yeah, right. You know what? I don't want to kill you. It's no problem. I can just duck into the alley.
You know what? This one's on me.
I'll walk
around the building.
Yeah, I'll walk around. It's February, but that's okay. I got my awesome leather jacket.
Honestly, though, it's better for him in the
long run?
No, in the winter times, right? Because it's in summer night, he didn't wear his coat so much. He waited until he went up in the clouds to get his coat because obviously it sucks to wear that heavy mantle when it's hot as hell outside. I was going to say,
right? There's some back and forth. It's sometimes he's wearing it and dying, or he actually opts to leave it behind and wishes he had it. Yeah, exactly. So, but
as I said, December really sucks. It's way too cold no matter what, everywhere in the world. Hate it, right? But at least in February or March, you're like, okay, this is the perfect temperature for my coat. I can be outside and I just feel warm in this coat.
I would almost disagree. What kind of Canadian are you? It depends definitely
how do I
which part.
explain it?
I know.
When it hits -1, I want to die.
Yeah.
If it snows on the ground, I want to die.
Most of the time, I figure, not always, but I would say usually January, February are worse. It can be a lot worse in February than in December. Because you're potentially still just getting into depending where you live.
We need a lot more Chinooks in December than we do February.
Whatever. Okay, no, but just, exactly. It's you're still just getting into but February is fucking cold. But regardless, yes, it's a better time for the coat. He wanders out into an alley.
I'm talking about Chicago. Obviously. God.
Obviously, yeah, the Windy City, I'm sure, is much nicer in December or February.
While he leaves, he's confronted by a cold chill and sort of checks things out magically, but the feeling quickly subsides. And
yeah, so this cold chill.
A cold chill in February. I
said no. Right? And yet, there it is.
Damn it. It's fucking Butcher.
Right? So he's like, oh, okay, must have been something else, whatever, it's gone now, I'm cool, I'm fine. So starts walking down the alley to the parking garage, half a block away.
I just want to say, though, he does specifically say, I kept on moving towards my car, and I heard footsteps growing behind me, blah, blah, blah. I told myself not to be jumpy. I'm being a little bit paranoid and sleep deprived because I got called to the morgue in the middle of the night. So that shower was probably about 6 hours long.
Which he did admittedly say it didn't work right away. He said it kept getting colder and colder.
He also said that he laid in bed until he stopped shivering. That could have taken several hours.
Actually, that could have been. I know, because he says until I'd warmed up the blankets, and I'm like, that never happens to me. No. I fucking lay there all night shivering if I don't. I'm like, I literally have to drag myself out of bed, which you never want to do because it's 10 times colder outside, even though you're freezing under your blankets, and you have to put on 6 more layers and go find a heating pad or something.
I've just got a space heater that I haven't turned off in 15 years.
And you sleep with it under the covers, I know, but not all of us do that.
I keep melting space heaters.
Oh my
yes,
God.
She does, because she will...
That's how fires happen.
Yes, I know, but
I'm cold.
She will, put the blanket over so that it blows in under the blankets to heat her up, and then she falls asleep like that. Yes, I know.
I've melted 3 so far. I'm on number 4 right now.
Amanda does have fire insurance, right? She has house insurance.
That's not my problem.
That's because you'll be melted under the blanket that caught on fire. And
it is true. It is true, though, that my roommate and landlord has dreamt of our house burning down many times. She has that. That's a reoccurring nightmare for her.
Yeah, because she just fucking bought that little house from her great auntie. good little starter house, and Jessica
Good
is
little
going-
fire starter house.
Good little fire. So yeah, it'll be Amanda's first and last house.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
suddenly-
get cold.
No, the problem is she never gets warm.
My body can't make its own white blood cells because my mom gave me diseased blood. That's not on me.
I'm sure that's from your father's side.
Lucky you.
Nobody in my family died from diseased blood.
Yet. Yet.
No, the boys both had like low white blood cell count.
Oh yeah, right.
That
Oh yeah, right. That's how they died.
was part
Two
of
of
the
my
whole-
uncles are dead because of you, and now I'm
Not
gonna
because
die.
of me. I didn't kill
Your
them.
blood.
God, you're all dark sometimes. Harry continues on.
Don't be
passing-
paranoid. Don't be paranoid. Don't be paranoid.
Passes
Yes.
a homeless man and a tall man yielding some vodka, and hears some steps behind him, and
There was some random man in Walmart wearing a vest.
Yeah,
Some
right.
random man on the street who's homeless.
Right?
Nothing to see here, folks.
Nothing at all.
Harry turns to confront the steps and comes face to face with what looks like a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Not unless a bear can have 6 legs and a pair of curling ram horns.
Right? Maybe it's just a unicorn.
A triceracorn?
Exactly. So yeah, he's like tries to, oh, maybe not. So yeah, when he turns around to this freaking grizzly bear that has 2 sets of eyes. So yes, it has 6 legs, pair of curling ram's horns,
Bioluminescent. forehead.
bioluminescent, yeah, one set of like orange glowing eyes, and then like another one of like bright green or whatever, and then like a tattoo, like a glow in the dark tattoo on his forehead, and like twin rows of serrated teeth, and
Sounds all sorts of pleasant.
it sounds all sorts of pleasant. So yes,
So the only thing a
Make me a
reasonable...
stuffed version of one of those.
right,
yeah.
Mr. Taxidermist, here we come.
Did the only thing any reasonable wizard could have done.
It turned around and ran like hell.
Gotta say, can't blame you for that one, bud.
Nope, not at all.
Happy New Year, everyone. We hope you all have a really good 2023.
Stay safe.
Drink a lot.
Drink so much.
If you're gonna drive, just don't get caught.
No, don't. Actually, do not drink and drive. Do not. I'm all for being
Just kidding.
I'm all
Just
for being
kidding.
cheeky and funny, but I do never vote.
Boring.
This concludes our episode 10.4, The Morgue Polka. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Contribute at your own risk.